Hole 13 is our shortest par 3 in the golf course. It's a downhill, beautiful golf hole with a two-tiered green, and the shot selection there forces the player to pick a side of the green because there's a spine that runs front to back on the green, and being on the right tier is paramount. Hole 16 is it's a daunting shot. It's a huge green, but it's a long hole, typically a hybrid to a long iron, all the way up to, for some of the players, maybe even a 3-wood or a driver, depending on what the wind is doing on that hole today. And it's, the wind is swirling all over the place today, and it's going to wreak havoc with golf shots. Trying to hit a long uphill shot to a green that's elevated, it's going to be hard to hold that green with the ball moving around that much. A 3 is going to be an amazingly good score on that hole today. I had a chance to get out there this morning and saw, a couple of the holes playing a little bit longer than they were playing yesterday, specifically the 4th hole, which is a tough hole to begin with. I think some of the shorter hitters are going to have a challenge with that tee shot. It brings some of the trees into play down the right side, and it's going to force them to pull a driver out and get it into position. 2 holes in a row they've got a tough tee shot on 3 with the wind in their face when I was out there on a long par 3, and then right to the 4th hole playing way tougher than it was yesterday. One word: fescue. I think, as the wind blows and the balls start to spin a little bit more and they get a little bit further offline, the balls end up in our fescue out here, which is problematic, to say the least. Lost balls, unplayable lies, situations where they can't advance the golf ball. That stuff wasn't coming into play as much yesterday as it is today, and it's going to make golf more difficult.
It's a totally different environment on day 2 because things get serious. Day 1, kind of a festive environment. Everybody's excited to be here. This is when things get serious. This is cut day. If you're outside the cut line after day 1, you've got to make a move. If you're inside the cut line, you got to play steady to make sure that you're here come the end of the day and you get to Wednesday. We saw some higher scores this morning in the morning wave. The wind picked up. The weather's great today, but the wind did pick up, which made it challenging. A different golf course from yesterday, different set of challenges from the rain yesterday. So I think anywhere between 154 to 156 is where the cut will end up.
Challenges with the wind definitely picked up. There was some holes out there that it was kind of tough to feel the impact of it, for sure. Controlling the spin was definitely an issue I had today, but it was a battle just to get through it.
The competition's about where I expected it to be. There wasn't as many low rounds yesterday as I expected, but the weather definitely played a factor into that.
Yeah, comparing the 2 rounds, they're definitely different. I wasted a lot of shots yesterday. I overall hit it pretty well both days. I think I hit 14 greens yesterday and then 15 today. Putter was just cold yesterday and didn't make too many today, but made enough where it made a difference and made less mistakes, I would say.
It's interesting that we've heard more feedback today on the length of the rough, which the rough was actually cut last night. But today we heard a lot of feedback about the rough, and I think that's because yesterday it was so wet that they were more thinking about the moisture on the golf course, and today a lot of the players realized how thick and penal the rough could be. The greens really haven't gotten too fast. They've gotten a little bit firmer with the wind and with the sun, but we've really heard a lot more about the length of the rough and the difficulty once you get in it of getting out and being able to get on the green from where you are. It's been good. I mean, the groups have been moving along nice and steady. Again, it's a tournament, so a lot of players are taking their time. They want to make sure they're reading putts, making sure they get their club selection correct. With the wind, that becomes a big challenge. In a lot of ways, wind is more difficult for the players than rain, and we talked a lot about the rain yesterday, but there was no wind, which really in some ways made it a little bit easier today. You talk to anybody that plays golf, even professionals on the PGA Tour will tell you it's more difficult to play in the wind than the rain. But all that being said, the players have been coming in steady in the morning wave. Nobody's had any negative comments about pace of play, so it's been really good so far. Players in the morning wave might be hoping that the wind really picks up in the afternoon and makes it difficult for the players in the afternoon wave to try to make sure that cut line maybe moves in their favor a little bit. But tomorrow, when the bracket comes out and people see who they're matched up against, it's just about you and the player across from you. So it's a completely different mentality. You're not worried necessarily about making 8 birdies to shoot a really low number. You've got to look at on every given hole what your opponent has done and then decide how you're going to react to that and what you're going to do. I think the scores were a little higher than we probably anticipated this morning, which have moved the cut line a little farther back. I think if the scores had been lower, it would have put a lot more pressure on the players in the afternoon wave to say, okay, now I've got to go out and shoot a number to make sure I'm there and under the cut line. But the scores, I think, generally speaking, were high this morning. We only had one player under par. That was Austin Fox, who shot 70. So I think that speaks to the golf course getting a little more difficult, and again, the players dealing with the wind.